Okay, hello. During this weird time of lockdown, which is horrible for everyone, I thought some people might find it a bit interesting to go through like a little breakdown of the demos that sort of built up what became Is Everybody Going Crazy, and sort of how they developed, because the first genesis of the idea wasn't really, it was kind of in the right direction, but wasn't how it ended up. So I hope some of you find this interesting. I've not done this before, so I'm sorry if it's boring or if I do it wrong. I'm trying my best. For instance, my microphone is actually in a NutriBullet cup because I don't have the right stand, so it's very much DIY. But I'm going to try and make it as interesting as possible. So here we go. So this is aptly named 16WFLT, and this is the first project I had for this. So this was before I wrote the rest of the song with Joe and Connor. So yeah, let's check it out. Bit rubbish really when you listen to it. It's kind of got the riff is in there somewhere. The drums and the shakers are doing the same sort of percussive elements as the final version, but texturally it's a little bit different. Obviously the guitars are leading the riff here, so let's look from the ground up what we've got. So drums, we've got kick and snare on every beat. Now these drums, actually these samples came from D-Mob Happy Song. I've worked with them on a few songs. They're an amazing band, you should check them out if you haven't, but yeah, I've just stolen their samples for this demo. I hope they don't mind. Sorry gents. But shaker on top of this for a little bit of movement, giving it the gallopy feel. Yeah, that's really quite important. Looking at the bass next. You could call that a life-changing bass line, but you'd be very wrong. So we've got a guitar layer on top in isolation, that is. Just doing that for an octave layer. And then the guitar riff. So in isolation. Isolation. It's a quite relevant word, isn't it? So altogether, you kind of get, you know, what is the riff in some sort of arrangement. I'm really enjoying the sound of the guitars though. So this is going into a gate. So it's really choking it, and that's probably because there's a lot of noise on this guitar signal. This is my bedroom, so I record with pretty like dodgy power. It's going to have a lot of like electrical hum and ground noise and stuff. So yeah, I probably put a gate on there to chop up all these gaps that you're seeing, to make sure that none of the noise is coming up through compression or anything like that. Then it goes into this in pretty out there gain bump of 24 dB. Now the reason I do that is because the next plugin it's going into is this 1073 preamp. So I'm going to play you this without the gain on. So I've just taken the gain off there. Dreadful. Less dreadful. The way the Thieves break up, even in the software version, is really cool. So, yep, that's the same processing on both these guitars, it looks like, left and right. And you hear the difference, how much wider it sounds. Okay, so last thing to note in this demo, I think. Actually, let's look at the bass tone quickly. So again, there's a gate on the front of it, some gain. We're going into amplitude now, which is like a really cool amp emulation plugin. So we're going into a Fender bass rig and this distortion. Yeah, I think it's like an overdrive. Back into a Neve, and then I'm using the channel EQ from Logic here, which I don't normally use, but there's obviously something nasty at that EQ band. So just without that last stuff on, this is just amplitude. Neve, adding a lot of bottom end and a bit of upper mids. And then to notch out that 130 apparently. Not very nice sound, so just getting rid of that. So yeah, let's. I'm going to skip the next bit, which is opening the next project up, and then we'll move on. Okay, and we're back, hopefully. Right, let's go straight in and play it. This is version 2, as we can see by this very cleverly labelled system up here. Yeah, not great still, but it's getting closer. So immediately you can hear that the riff is now split up into 2 sections now, call and response. So I would like to think I didn't have a guitar at this point, because if you can see, all these tracks are labelled bass. So let's check those out. So let's do the call first, which is the front half of the riff. Nice, and then into the... Can I say nice? Why not? Here's the response. Now, obviously the final version ends up with the main riff being played on bass, so I feel like it's a step closer to that. And also, this was quite an important thing to happen, because this informed what happens in the chorus. It introduces chords now in the riff. It's not just staying on the root note. It's going from the root note, which is a minor chord, up to the relative minor. So when this continues into the second section here, if I solo these chords, these are essentially what the chorus becomes later on in the song. If I could sing, I would sing. Is everybody going crazy? So you get the idea. What else is going on in this version? The drums sound worse, so that was good. Don't know how I did that. Shakers slightly more on this one, just to give it a bit more swing, I suppose. And some group drums on Addictive, I think I used. It's a great drum plugin to add some colour. Probably some cymbals too, by the sounds of things. So yeah, in that version, there's not a lot of, not much more to talk about, because the second half, none of this stuff really survived. I do like the arpeggio guitar sounds. This is an awesome delay plugin, by the way. Really rate this. This is FabFilter Timeless. Using Jupiter synths. I think I was listening to a lot of Tame Impala at this time. You can kind of hear by those key sounds too. So that is that version. I always like listening to what I've always just put nonsense at the end of the session. So sounds, say nonsense. That's kind of what the song is. Oops. More stuff there. Is this interesting? And that sounds rubbish as well. So yeah, good stepping stone here. I feel like the next version is where it ends up. So let's check that out. Okay. Oh. Okay, we're here. So this looks like a more of a full fat session. We've got vocals by the looks of things, which are all muted. So we'll listen to... I won't play the whole song yet, because I think listening to 3 minutes of demo is probably not that fun. But I'll play you some of the... Well, let's go from the top and see how far we get. perfect time for it to crash, actually. I was going to stop it there and talk about what's going on. So we've got an intro now, thankfully. So that's the A part of the riff. You know, we're talking about splitting it up into A and B sections. We've got that here now with no response. And then obviously when it drops into the main riff, that's when the B section of the riff comes in. The call and response actually aligns. So we've got a percussion group now, apparently, very professionally organised. More shuffle, same kick and snare. Bass is still doing some bass seems a bit confused to me, which I think we ironed out in the actual recording, but there's one that's on the downbeats. Guitar on the offbeats, really important. From memory, I played this very out of time, so I apologise. Really cool sound though, so again, it's a Neve in, but there's some filter stuff going on. Here you go. Just to give it that really pokey sound, you can really hear it in the mix. Okay, what else is interesting that I was noticing? What is this? Okay, so more of a dubby bass here, less distortion. We'll look at the vocals in a minute, because I have no doubt that they're funny because they're pitch shifted and stretched and no words and all that sort of thing. Where's the higher guitar then? Where's that living? You can hear the high octave comes in. So this stuff we copied quite carefully when we were recording the final track, because we loved the single guitar notes, like creating a chord. You know, if you play them in isolation, they're not really isolation. There's that word again. If you play them in isolation, you're not really hearing what they're doing, but they're creating a chord with each layer. So yeah, it works really nicely. Some of the notes are moving quicker than others. Some are just changing on the beat. It creates a nice effect. It's a little bit like, it makes you feel off kilter, it makes you feel like you're going to fall over a bit, which is really important for the chorus. I think it sets it up nicely. Yeah, I don't think you could really play that with one hand. I'm saying that, I'll probably get a message of someone doing it now and I'll be proved wrong, which I'd like to be. But yeah, let's look at the chorus. If it will load, there's a good chance it won't, because I'm using a lot of processing power trying to record this video. So quite synth heavy actually in this version. There's not a lot of guitars. Let's have a look again. So what's going on the bottom end? So bass. Crazy shakers here. Oh, I did want to say that actually. I programmed the shakers off of the grid, so they all sound a little bit wonky, but I did it with the kick pattern too earlier on. Don't know if there's a good example I can just zoom in on, but you know, these are not on the grid here, so these are not quantized. I've just moved them to where they were feeling good. So that creates a little bit of an odd effect. It makes you feel more organic, but also I don't know, I just like the feeling of it not being super rigid. Well, let's hear the vocals with that, because these are going to be super rough. I don't even know if there's lyrics. I think Joe had lyrics though. Let's have a look.
everybody's going crazy. Can't get through to you lately. We're so hopelessly faded. Is it?
It's kind of right. That sounds a bit like the song. Where's that? There's a crazy synth keyboard doing something. It might be here.
And everybody's going crazy. Can't get through to you lately. We're so hopelessly faded.
I'm going to rush this along a bit because there's something cool I wanted to show you in this version. So we had a completely different ending planned. Actually, just shout out to Mike Crossy, who he produced this song and our record. And he's amazing, and he wanted to give the vocal melody a bit more room to breathe. So by cutting the chords shorter, by making them stabs, so like they were more like, I can just put an example of that together, but basically they'd be more like this.
And everybody's going crazy. And everybody's going crazy.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit of breath, so it would cut off shorter.
And everybody's going crazy.
And that just let the melody sing a bit more. Let it have room. Let it. You can focus on the lyrics a bit more. Anyway, towards the end of the song, where are we? God, this version is so different. Yeah, so. That sounds pretty good. That's not too embarrassing. Okay, so this is the final ending. I'm going to take the vocals out here. So the final ending. What else is an ending? This is the ending we had for the demo. Very, very different. So we wanted to go into basically like a musical outro where there was this cool synth line and then the vocal would come back. Now, in hindsight, it's a bit overwhelming, so I think we made the right decision to go back to a normal chorus, just fuller. But yeah, listen to some of these parts in isolation. It's quite interesting. So let's take that lead line with these guitars. With those, let's get the bass actually. A really nice line, that, but just too much at that point. I think it's always going to be a difficult thing to get a vocal melody over such busy instrumentation. Like the guitars keep that rhythm from the middle eight going, so you know we've got this kind of riff that happening in the middle, from the middle eight into the final chorus. Confusing stuff going on. Anyway, yeah, I thought that'd be quite interesting to show you. I don't know if there's anything. Let's hear Connor's initial vocal pass with a. I think I tuned it up 2 semitones, but check this out. It's quite interesting.
Only you know where I go. Only you know. Only you know without where I go. Only you know I gotta go without one more
we often record and then change keys and change tempos and stuff. So rather than get Connor to sing it a million times and wear him out, we just we end up just doing it in the computer, chopping it up, stretching it, pitch shifting it. But yeah, that's what was the start of Is Everybody Going Crazy? And thank God it got better than that, because this was a bit of a mess, it seems, looking back on it. But yeah, a little bit of insight there. I hope you found that interesting. Sorry if you didn't. I'll try and make it better if I do another one. But yeah, stay at home, stay safe for now. I hope this all passes soon. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy the tune. Speak to you soon. Bye.